welcome you all to this session, which is promising to be one of the most exciting sessions in the nutraceutical sector for some time to come. And I think this has been arranged very wonderfully from across the globe by Nutrify Today, a, a platform which has been empowering stakeholders of the nutraceuticals industry for a long time and has become a formidable force today. And I think conversations around nutraceuticals happen more often and more deep in the Nutrify Today platform than anywhere else. I'm extremely grateful as well as very happy to be hosting this session today. And we hope to have a very august audience as the people who are actually in the panel are going to give us much to learn about, much to think about in the time to come about nutraceuticals. Nutrify today essentially connects businesses for better efficiency across the globe. They've been actually ensuring that there is a sense of getting a global partnership across this nutraceutical industry and have been a knowledge base for this industry to empower themselves and grow. So that's what's been happening. I'm Chandramouli. I'm the CEO of Blue Lotus, a PR agency, and TRA Research, essentially a brand trust communications agency, a strategist as well as a brand consultant. And I have been privileged to be associated with both Nutrify Today and the nutraceutical industry for some time now. Many of these speakers and panelists have been either associated with us or we have been in discussion with them in the Nutrify Today platform or otherwise. And we have been building trust in the healthcare as well as the nutraceutical industries for a very long time. We're also the publishers of the Brand Trust Report, a report that comes out for the last 10 years in terms of creating a list of the most trusted brands in the country. And while TRA measures trust, Blue Lotus delivers that trust. There are very few sectors which can actually be called a COVID beneficiary. There are, out of the maybe 100% of the sectors, 90% plus have suffered COVID. But the nutraceuticals industry essentially has been a COVID beneficiary. And in the last year or so, from the discussions that I have had with both Amit Srivastava, who's the chief catalyst of Nutrify Today, and with the other industry experts, it has almost been growing at about 40% in India and of course globally as well. The unprecedented growth actually calls in for many more players who've been coming into the field. Therefore, it's like a rush, it's like the gold rush. And today the nutraceuticals industry is a little bit, if I may use the term, like the Wild West. There are good players, there are players who are trying to make it there, but the market is up for grabs, and naturally the gold rush is something that attracts a lot of people. In this flood of new entrants, in this flood of new kind of products that are coming in, there is naturally going to be some amount of silt that gets remaining when the flood leaves. So across this cacophony, when the cacophony happens in terms of the number of players as well as the number of entrants in the products and whether there should be efficacy or not, lack of regulations perhaps, lack of governance perhaps, the nutraceuticals industry will it evolve? Will there be an evolution or will there be a revolution? Are we going to skip the nutraceuticals industry 2.0 and 3.0 completely and move to the next nutraceuticals 4.0 directly? It's not necessarily that such industries always go in a linear fashion, and often the trajectories may go beyond what we imagine them to be. So that's what we are here to address today in a general topic of 2 sessions called Shaping the Nutraceuticals Delta. Delta here implies, of course, the unprecedented growth that may happen and therefore where it will move to. And I have the pleasure of introducing the first discussion topic as well as the panel. And this is the topic that's going to be demystifying Nutra as an adjunct therapy. Adjunct, as we know, is something extra. Will it really happen as an adjunct therapy? Will there be more to do with the type of nutritional and dietitians, how they will actually practice and prescribe this? Or will it be left to the discretion of the consumer to be able to perhaps irrationally consume in the interest of either trying to get rid of some challenge that they may have, whether it's obesity or it's going to be weight loss or it's going to be sexual dysfunction or function or many other such? what will this industry look like? So we have with us a very, very esteemed panel, and I have the privilege of introducing an international panel across global time zones. And I also thank them who have come in from the Americas, who have come in from the Asia parts of Japan, and of course India as well. And there are several other countries like the Middle East where people are part of the panel. So let me begin with the introduction of this panel. We have Michelle Simon, President, CEO of Institute of Natural Medicine, USA. We have Louis Villaseno, CEO Keto Grains, Mexico. We have Dr. Hindenori Arai, President, Natural Institute of Geriatrics and Gerontology, Japan. We have Dr. Kalpana Bhaskar, Head Center of Applied Nutrition Services and Glycemic Index Research Unit, Temasek Polytechnic, Singapore. Ms. Inoshi Sharma, Director, FSSAI, Social and Behavioral Change, and Dr. Salim Shedi, President, Arab Institute of Fetal Medicine from the Middle East. And to moderate this esteemed global panel from across all time zones, I call upon the chief catalyst of Nutrify today, who has been a visionary of sorts, and if I may use the term, is the Nutraceuticals man of the country. And call upon Amit Srivastava to come in and moderate the show. Thank you. Amit, over to you.
So, well, thanks a lot, Chandramouli, for introducing me. And yes, being the founder at Nutrify today, but I'll focus right now at the session. Today's topic is nutritional medicine, demystifying nutrition as an adjunct therapy. Sounds very techy, but then, I wanted to make sure that there's a context and wanted to put across to the industry what is the trend and what is it that they should actually look forward to in building this responsible nutrition. And instead of having a session where I get in professionals from India or from a specific country, it sounds like pretty siloed because people often take references of professionals from different part of the world and get away. So I thought, let's get the top professionals across the world together on this platform. And it's very nice. And I'm really thankful to the panelists who are here today, particularly, people who are from the time zones which have odd hours today. Dr. Michelle, Mr. Louis, Dr. Hindenori, thank you very much. But now that we have got these leading professionals with us, and that should add value to the industry. Like a tourist guide, I'm going to take the attendees here on this event through a journey across the world. Instead of places, we'll be going and meeting various key opinion leaders in healthcare ecosystem, right from Japan to Mexico and every key market in between. So we would be interacting with professionals from Japan, Singapore, India, Egypt, US, and Mexico. So with these professionals together sharing their insight, I think all the confusion that exists with referring to different countries should be put to rest today, because we have everyone here who's going to be talking on the topic today. I'll start the conversation with, let's start with our regulator actually, Ms. Ruchika Sharma. Ms. Ruchika Sharma is a lead and a corporate engagement of social and behavioral change division of FSSAI at New Delhi in India. And I have a question for you, Ruchika. FSSAI, the Indian regulator, has been a front runner in creating change in people's behavior regarding nutrition. Please tell us about top 3 initiatives of FSSAI, the regulator, to improve people eating behavior.
Thank you so much, Amit. I must say it's a wonderful opportunity and I'm glad for inviting us today. So to first questions of yours, I think every government in every country today, they are facing this unprecedented crisis. We in India are also facing with these tough times here. But having said that, I would like to focus more on the positive sides today. So in India, we launched this Eat Right India initiative 2 years back as a flagship event. And this initiative, the primary goal of this initiative was to ensure that people are eating safe, healthy, and sustainable as part of their daily diets and changes in their social and behavioral practices. So, as part of this program, we introduced three very common and interesting initiatives. I would like to talk about these today. The very first one we launched was in 2019, and it says "Aaj se thoda kam," a little less from today. So that's what the tagline of campaign. And we roped in a very famous celebrity here, and that celebrity reached out to people and asked them that why don't you start reducing consumption of salt, sugar, and fats in your diets slowly and gradually. So the intent was not to ask them to drastically stop consuming salt, sugar, and fat, but to reduce gradually. And we created this very powerful gesture, a symbol. With this gesture, we targeted people and asked them to reduce consumption of salt, sugar, and fats in their diets. So that was very powerful campaign. And in fact, whenever we reached out to people on ground during various fairs, melas, everywhere, this powerful symbol became the tagline and a key gesture where people actually understood the meaning of it. The second powerful campaign which we did was around fortified foods. So, if like many are aware that Indian government has created regulations for fortifying 5 key staples, which includes edible oil, milk, wheat flour, rice, and salt. So for these 5 key staples, we introduced a campaign called Plus F, Dekha Kya? Have you been able to identify plus F symbol? So with that, again, we reached out to people and we asked them that whenever you go out and purchase for your key staples in the market, start identifying and locating plus F fortified products. Because as we know, the micronutrient deficiencies are widespread everywhere, including in our country. So we thought with the help of these micronutrient fortified foods, we will be able to target the micronutrient deficiency in our country. The third powerful campaign which I would like to talk about was around schools and corporates. So we have decided to start a campaign for colleges, universities, educational institutions, workplaces, jails, as part of our Eat Right Campus initiative, and a similar initiative for schools. So this was launched around a year and a half back, where we are going to people in a settings-based environment and creating behavioral change requirements for them so that they can start making simple changes in their diets when they're coming to, let's say, work or office or going to their colleges or institutions. And this program revolved around 3 important matrices, wherein we were training the food handlers at the campus premises, and we were also doing the audit of the premises and doing a lot of awareness activities to spread right eating practices amongst people. So these are the 3 important initiatives that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, interesting. So this brings me, so before I go ahead, I have another question for you, Ruchika. So when you talk of Eat Right, Eat Right is now a national movement. Now, what are the tenets of the same?
Great. So, Eat Right India movement is basically a flagship initiative of our country, and the primary objective of this initiative to transform the food ecosystem in India. This very important movement is based around 3 core pillars, which involves eating safe, eating healthy, and eating sustainable. Because it's not only important to eat safe and healthy, but it is also important to eat something which is sustainable and good for our planet. Under Eat Safe, we focus on personal and surrounding hygiene and sanitary practices through the supply chain, combating food adulteration, reducing toxic and contaminants in the manufacturing process. Under Eating Healthy, we promote diet diversity and balanced diets. We also promote eliminating toxic industrial trans fats from food chain. In fact, Indian regulator is doing a lot of work in removing source of trans fats from the food supply. We are working on reducing consumption of salt, sugar, and saturated fats, promoting large-scale fortification of staples to address micronutrient deficiencies. Under Eating Sustainable, we are promoting local and seasonal foods. We are preventing food loss and food wastage, reducing usage of chemicals in food production, as well as promotion of safe and sustainable packaging. Like you mentioned, that Eat Right India movement is already a nationwide people movement, because we are not only working with government organizations or experts and professionals, we are also working with consumer associations, community organizations, citizens, so that it becomes a people's movement. The Eat Right India movement adopts a judiciary mix of regulatory, capacity building, collaborative, and consumer engagement approaches, so that we make sure that the program reaches everyone and everybody in this country. This program, we adopt an integrative or a whole of government approach, because we work with various nodal ministries who are into the mandates of agriculture, health, environment, and we are also working with citizens of various age groups and sections. That's how it makes us to adopt a whole of society approach, and the intent is very simple: to make sure that all stakeholders, all people come across on a global platform, on a common platform together, and we achieve the target what we have set for our country, so that people can eat safe, healthy, and sustainable foods as we move forward.
I see, Ruchika. So, Ruchika, I have a connecting question, but I'll get back to you again a few minutes later. So let me just take a hop from India and fly down to Egypt. So we have with us Dr. Shadi Salim, who's the president of Arab Society of Fetal Medicine. Hi, Dr. Shadi.
Hi, Mr. Amit. Most welcome with you.
Yeah, so welcome and pleasure to have you here. So Dr. Shadi, my questions are going to be very specific to your profession. You are a medical doctor, and there is a kind of reference often made to me that medical doctors are not tuned into the nutraceuticals, and nutraceuticals they don't understand for medical therapy. So I often say it's wrong, because most of the leaders in medical professionals across the world have adopted nutraceutical industry, responsible nutrition, and they practice it in their clinical setup. So my question to you is, can you explain, so let me get specifically technical with you. So can you explain the relevance of specific nutrients in fertility and also in fetal development?
Yes, most welcome with you, and I am very happy to be with you in this nice conference. I was prepared some slides to explain our aspect as an.
You can share this slide, not a problem.
Okay. Are you see it now?
Yeah. My request to you, Dr. Shadi, would be that we have 5 to 6 minutes. So
yes,
just
5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
You see my slides now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. There is a great relation between the body mass index and the infertility. In male infertility, increase in the body mass index due to bad nutrition lead to bad quality sperm and affect sperm motility and decrease testosterone level, which leads to infertility. Testosterone and follicle stimulating hormone and inhibin B show negative correlation with body mass index. Increase in fatty tissue causes the testosterone to turn into estrogen and decreases the amount of testosterone in the blood, sperm count, and the quality. Besides, when the rate of fat increase around the testis, the heat in that part of the body also increases, and this leads to decrease in the production and the quality of sperms. As body mass index increase, the risk of azoospermia and oligospermia also increase, and this also affects the fertility of the male partner.
Okay.
In infertile individuals, obesity might lead to outcomes such as transformation of sperm DNA, fertilization degeneration, transformation of embryo and a blastocyst, a decrease in the rate of insemination, and an increase in the possibility of miscarriage. All these due to improper nutrition, due to obesity. In other study that analyzed the relation between body mass index and DNA fragmentation index, and in which a normal group is used as a reference, a DNA fragmentation index is found 20% to 30% more in overweight and obese individuals.
I see. Then let me ask you, Dr. Shetty, that do you think there is a direct correlation between nutraceutical products and infertility?
Yes, yes, I will tell you. Antioxidants like vitamin A and vitamin C and vitamin E, we know the oxidative stress is the increase of the rate of cellular damage triggered by oxygen and oxygen-based oxidants known as reactive oxygen species. Oxidative stress has become one of the most causes of male infertility and also can affect the ovarian reserve in the female. Vitamin A, C, E are able to keep the pro-oxidant antioxidant balance, and by preventing the oxidative damage in the sperm DNA, they maintain the genetic integrity of sperm cells. It also stated that consuming medium 20 milligram per kilogram and high 30 milligram per kilogram doses of vitamin C causes significant increase in sperm count and motility.
Okay, understand.
Also, folate is an essential vitamin for the DNA found in green leafy vegetables, transfer RNA, and protein synthesis, as DNA synthesis is an important part of spermatogenesis. Also, zinc plays an important role in folate metabolism, as it also found in the structure of this enzyme.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Shetty,
enzyme Q10 also. Yes.
So wonderful. I think you have nicely illustrated. So what I wanted to bring to the audience, which is predominantly from industry, is that the leading medical professionals in the Arabic world not only understand, but also are using the nutraceutical as their adjunct therapy strategy. And they are not only getting an outcome, but they have even gone ahead and published papers of how they have achieved health outcomes using nutraceuticals as their adjunct therapy strategy. Now, keeping this in mind, I'm just going to, from Egypt, let's fly down to United States. And we have Dr. Michelle Simon here. Dr. Michelle Simon is President and CEO of Institute of Natural Medicine, Seattle, Washington, US. Hi, Dr. Michelle.
Hello. Nice to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Michelle, I have a specific question from you, because the beauty of natural medicine is that it transcends through multi faculties of healthcare. So the question to you is, can you throw some light on importance of gut health and its impact on micronutrient absorption?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important question. We always say you are what you eat, right? But we also are what we digest, absorb, and eliminate. That's all very important as to what you can eat. Micronutrient, those come in fruits and vegetables primarily, but if you can't absorb that, then you run afoul of malabsorption syndromes, which happens when one of the three digestive processes are really not working well. So, for example, your acids and enzymes that break down the fats and proteins in your food might not be working, or some additional enzymes that convert those nutrients into the active forms in your body, they might not be working, or your lymphatic system that transports and carries all these nutrients around your body may not be working. So for a lot of these people, these simple factors like poor gut health or poor diet can both lead to malabsorption problems. And one of the things I think I would like to speak about today that I see a lot in my patients is that it's really not that their diets are insufficient, it's that their stomach acids are insufficient. And we know that you require stomach acid to create a pH range, an acidic range in your stomach to activate the enzymes that your pancreas secretes. So if you have insufficient stomach acid, then the enzymes themselves do not work. They don't cleave and break open to start the digestive process. And we think about older folks having problems with low stomach acid, but I see it happening in younger people all the time, because when you're under stress and your cortisol level is high, you're in a sympathetic adrenal state, it suppresses stomach acid. And that is a problem, so that you don't digest your food as well. So one of the issues we see is that giving digestive enzymes is insufficient. You have to actually support people's hydrochloric acid or stomach acid as well. So that's one thing I'd like to mention to folks. A lot of folks aren't aware of this, but these micronutrients that are cleaved from the food require this acid in the stomach, or you run afoul of becoming insufficient in your digestive support.
You know, Michelle, this is a very personalized situation because, you know, everyone has a different, gut health condition. But then what you just mentioned also poses an idea to me that while, let's take a population in average, the gut health based on the lifestyle people have varies from country to country, forget country, even the region. And that potentially would also mean that it is very important that when the nutraceutical products are being designed, they have to keep into mind the gut behavior of the region and then decide on the ingredients to be used in making product. Because I don't think you can make a product and just paste it across the entire human population across the world. That's my thought. I can be wrong. You can correct me.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for validating the thought. Okay. Dr. Michelle, my question to you, the next question to you is, as per the latest research in natural medicine, which nutrients, nutraceuticals, supplements, or botanicals are crucial for health in general or holistic health, whatever it is called?
Yeah. Wow, it's an awfully big question, right? So I could spend all night on that, but I'll give you some highlights. I think that's the best thing, the thing that most actionable one. So the one that comes to mind first is actually vitamin D. We talk a lot about vitamin D in the world and immune health, and most patients that I see here in the northern part of the US are really deficient in this vitamin. We make it from the sun, and where I live in Seattle, Washington, that's not often very relevant to us. But every cell in your body has a receptor for vitamin D. It's linked to immune function and calcium absorption. Without adequate D levels, you can't absorb the calcium from our food effectively, and that leads to lots of problems like poor bone health. But what I'd like to speak about today is we see so many patients with chronic pain, chronic low back pain, muscle pain, all this sort of thing. And what we know is that calcium helps your muscles relax. So when your vitamin D levels are low, you can't absorb calcium, your muscles are tighter. There was a study they found with patients with chronic neck and back pain. They were referred to a spine clinic after failing physical therapy, non-steroidal pain medications, even having had steroid injections without any relief. And then they supplemented these folks with 50,000 IUs of vitamin D once a week for 12 weeks. And all of the subjects had more than 70% of improvement in their symptoms. It's such a simple intervention. It's so powerful, though, for maintaining this optimal level of musculoskeletal health and immune system function as well. There's some studies in the journal Nutrients, I think it's called Nutrients, and they examined the impact of vitamin D on immune function to reduce the risk of infection. And they found that people at the risk of influenza, even COVID-19, when they were taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 for a few weeks, they rapidly raised their vitamin D levels, and they were less susceptible to viral influenzas, for example. So I think, we need to do larger control trials and larger population studies, but there's some really promising research on vitamin D to date. I'll talk about vitamin B12 a little bit. That's a very popular vitamin also. It's necessary for metabolism, genetic regeneration, growth, energy production, brain health, which we're all very concerned about. And learning about the forms of the vitamins is very critical for this one in particular. So we know that B12 comes in different forms, and some of your audience members may know that methylated forms of some vitamins are important, and methyl is a carbon and 3 hydrogens. And you put that on B12 and folate particularly, and that is called methylating the vitamin. Those are necessary. Those forms of that vitamin are necessary in the enzymatic reactions related to energy production, brain health, hormone balance, and a lot of the detoxification systems that your body uses, particularly in the liver. So this methylated version is critical for many people, and you may not know that you need this, but if you don't have sufficient methylation capacity, then you run the risk of having insufficient ability to detoxify your body. You also make melatonin through this process, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, so many hormones and neurotransmitters require that. So paying attention to the form of the vitamin is very important for a lot of people.
Okay.
I think another section that's really important to learn about is inflammation. And there are many things that affect inflammation. Probably the most important is an omega-3 fatty acids or fish oil supplements. And eating wild-caught salmon or wild-caught fish, if you can have access to it several times a week, provides a sufficient amount of the DHA and EPA, which are the long-chain fatty acids in omega-3s. But often that's not available. So supplements can help in that area. You make your hormones from omega-3 fatty acids. So that's an important thing to get in your diet or as a supplement.
I see. Well, I have, I just want to interject questions that the audience have been asking. So these are small questions, so just be fast. There's a question from Mark Dexter. How then do we diagnose hypoacidity and correct it? I think this is more of diagnostic and treatment. I don't know if this will be the right platform, but if you want to answer, I'll proceed. Else I'll proceed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we suspect that when we see either weight loss, nutrient malabsorption issues, fatigue primarily, those sorts of things. And the way to test for it, there's a couple of different ways. You can actually use hydrochloric acid pills. So they make HCl, betaine HCl, and you can have folks take that with their food, with their meals, and see if things improve for them. There's also a loading experiment that can be done, and people can reach out to me to learn more about it. Probably won't go through all the details of it, but there is a way, a functional test to learn if people have sufficient stomach acid. So I encourage them to get in touch with a provider that knows how to do these tests. It's very simple to do.
Okay. So last question is, I know the answer. Will taking of probiotics help those with digestion problems? Question from Yolanda.
So probiotics are very helpful in the lower part of your digestion. So down in the colon and in the small intestine, perhaps. What I was speaking about with hypochlorhydria, that is actually in the stomach. So further up the GI chain. So probiotics don't typically help that problem. No.
Okay, fine. So what we find from Dr. Michel's inputs is first, although she's a key opinion leader in the world of natural medicine, but nutraceuticals and the science of biochemistry have found home in natural therapy too and work as an adjunct to the therapy strategies. This puts a lot of responsibility on formulators to focus on quality of formulation that delivers high bioavailability and effective outcomes. People take these two things for granted, and my special request to the industry to focus on these and do invest on trials and remember that what you make could impact someone's health in long run. Anyway, before we all fly down to Mexico to meet Mr. Louis, I have a question which I wanted to connect again back to Ruchika from fscci regulator in India. Ruchika, can you just quickly tell me how does FSCCI ensure regulation of nutraceuticals in India?
Great. I think, Amit, it is a very, very important question. And being a regulator, it is very important and a primary responsibility to ensure that all these products comply with the regulations laid. Typically, health supplements and nutraceuticals are basically intended to enhance the normal balanced diet of a person with additional sources of nutrients having nutritional impacts on our body. For this, FSSAI has notified food safety and standards, health supplements, nutraceuticals, food for dietary use, food for special medical purpose, and functional foods regulations. These regulations are a part of our due course and general procedures which we follow for various regulations for the food manufacturers in the country. And these regulations provide for general conditions for manufacture, sale, distribution, and retail of these type of foods, and as well as requirements related to claims, labeling, and permitted use of additives and other nutrients. When it comes to ensuring that these comply with the standards and regulations issued by FSCCI, we enhance and we encourage food businesses to set up a food safety management system to ensure that the products which are coming in the market are safe for human consumption. Furthermore, the implementation of these regulations basically lies on the hands of the state food safety departments. And we give regular guidance, instructions, notices, and orders to our state food machinery to do proper inspections, regular enforcement, licensing drives, surveillance drives to ensure that the products comply with the standards which are laid in the regulations. In fact, FSCCI also time by time train our food safety officers and designated officers at the field level to ensure any sort of a technical assistance or any sort of an assistance which they require to follow inspection of these guidelines. In fact, that is not enough because FSCCI not only believes that advising state food safety department for inspection and liaising with food businesses to ensure that they comply with the regulation is important, but we also believe that advocating consumers is also very, very important so that they understand that these kind of products should not be taken without without medical supervision or guidance by your medical practitioner. And for that, we time to time come up with various campaigns. We liaison with various stakeholders in the industry to ensure that whenever they pass any product related details to their consumers, they also debunk any myths related to this segment and educate consumers about fake claims or fake products or spurious or inferior products which are available in the market. So I totally believe that it is not only the responsibility of regulator, but it is a shared responsibility of the food businesses as well as our state food safety departments to ensure proper compliances to the regulations.
Wonderful.
I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry I have to leave in the middle because I'm scheduled to run another session.
This was valuable input. Thank you very much, Ruchika.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So importance of responsible nutrition is very high. And as I said, that what we make could potentially impact someone's health life because these are high bioactive component that enters a much larger biochemistry ocean that is our body. And unfortunately, there's no long-term studies for any of these potent bioactives. What could be the impact? Anyway, we'll discuss all this later on. I'll get on to, so let's fly down to South of America in Mexico. Mr. Luis Villaseñor, and he is an expert, a thought leader in nutraceuticals and metabolic conditions. Hi, Luis.
Hello, Amit. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Thank you so much. Luis, my questions to you is, how does, so since you specialize in metabolic conditions, how does carbohydrate reduction correct metabolic pathways?
For sure, Amit. Well, as most of the audience are probably aware, low carbohydrate diets have been very much, or are currently very much in fashion. Lots of people have tried it, are doing it because of weight reduction, but especially for the treatment of diabetes. So there's some studies that have been done recently to explore the topic, and what they have found is that low carb diets may be quite helpful for blood sugar control. mostly because they help reduce elevated glucose and stabilize insulin levels. With a low carb diet, you seem to find that glucose levels are often lower, and this results, of course, in reducing insulin resistance because of, again, of the low glycemic load of foods. In turn, it helps improve metabolic flexibility. It helps people use better fat as fuel. And also, it helps people, again, not all of them, but it has been shown in quite a lot of subset of persons that it reduces appetite and cravings, which in turn, of course, help with diet adherence and, of course, result in fat loss. All of these work together in helping improving your metabolism. Again, a lot of studies show a modest reduction in glucose levels, a modest reduction in glycated hemoglobin, general greater reductions in insulin, reduction in triglycerides. There's a modest increase in LDL cholesterol, but again, a higher increase in HDL, and in some cases, even a reduction in blood pressure. So the general outcomes for people that do correctly a low-carb diet seem to be favorable.
Okay. Interesting. So, tell me one thing. For people who want to be on low carbohydrate regimen, what are the micronutrients or nutraceutical products that become critical, very highly critical in your strategy of treatment?
For sure. Like with all diets, you can do the diet correctly and you can do the diet incorrectly. As this is a diet that's very much in fashion right now, a lot of people understand that it's a diet that reduces or eliminates a complete macronutrient, in this case, a carbohydrates. And usually carbohydrates, as we know, are one of the biggest or most easier ways to get our micronutrition. If you eliminate fruits and vegetables, of course, you're going to get some deficiencies, mostly in hydrosoluble vitamins. So a good strategy first is to educate the patient and to make the patient understand that a low carbohydrate diet doesn't mean zero carbohydrates, rather that it means more whole foods. You can eat a lot of, quite a lot of green vegetables, even some fruits like berries, some nuts, avocado, etc., that are high on micronutrients. But even so, it's usually important to review with the patient that they're not missing some critical micronutrients that may be necessary, or in some cases people miss on a ketogenic diet, such as potassium, sodium, magnesium, especially at the start of the diet, but then also vitamin C, A, and D. In this case, supplementation may be warranted.
Okay. Interesting. So, as I hear Louis, on one side, low carb food or nutrition or diet, it has become a fashion worldwide, but with direct consumer intervention, one area that gets knocked out is the biochemistry principles. It is this reason that there's no sustained meta-analysis data available today on nutraceuticals with reliable outcome, because there's no way you can have a control on consumers. And unless nutraceuticals are under the guidance of experts, we are not reaching any preventive or wellness goals. You can see, let's understand that consumers will not understand the biochemistry, and they will indulge in what Dr. Google says and what their brain interprets. So there can be infinite interpretations with infinite applications of the same product and leading to different outcomes. And hence, the industry of nutraceuticals often get beaten down that it doesn't work. Well, we know why. So it is important that there's an intervention of healthcare professionals, and we'll get on to sharing some insights. What are the World Health regulators doing to make this happen? But we'll do that later on.
Sure.
If I were to take a flight from Mexico to Singapore, it would take forever. So let's come to Singapore. So we might as well teleport ourselves to Singapore to meet Dr. Kalpana Bhaskar. Dr. Kalpana Bhaskar is head of Center of Applied Nutrition Services and Glycemic Index Research Unit, and Vice President in SNDA, Singapore. She is an authority. I think any pharmaceutical company with interest in diabetes nutrition, or any nutraceutical company with interest in diabetes, she is the go-to person for defining what the product should be. And good to have you, Dr. Kalpana, in this platform. Hello, Dr. Kalpana.
Yeah, good evening, Amit, and good evening, everyone from Singapore.
So good to see you, and I'm glad you could join. You had some technical challenge in logging in.
Yes, yeah.
So my question to you, Dr. Kalpana, is diabetes is a lifestyle-driven disease. Now, how much of it is preventable, and with what kind of right nutrition education?
Okay, I think I should have prepared for a poll. If I can see around 150 audience here. If I take a poll, I think almost 100% will agree with me that it's a lifestyle. The answer is in your question. You said it's a lifestyle disease. And I always tell this to people, your lifestyle, no one is forcing you to lead a wrong lifestyle, right? So once you're able to lead a healthy lifestyle, I think diabetes can always be preventable. And even people who get diabetes, you can prevent complications by also changing your lifestyle. So we always have these three things in mind, which is have to prevent. First is prevent, then also screen. You always cannot be thinking, oh, I will not get diabetes, right? So you have to do screening. And then let's say you're pre-diabetic, then manage. You can also reverse diabetes. So to me, I can say it is 100% you will be able to prevent diabetes by making very simple changes in your lifestyle.
Okay. And if I were to ask you, Dr. Kalpana, which micronutrients or macronutrients have a significant role in combating insulin resistance?
Okay, this is again a very big question. Maybe I'll start with macronutrients first. So when you look at the three macronutrients, I think Louis also mentioned about carbohydrates, right? Mm-hmm. So carbohydrates, you have protein and you have the fats. Mm-hmm. So always choose minimally processed, because we will not be able to get unprocessed carbohydrates. It's very challenging. Mm-hmm. So at least minimally processed carbohydrates, which gives you minimum spikes, which is low glycemic index carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. At the same time, that's the quality of the carbohydrate. Mm-hmm. We also need to focus on the quantity. So portion control comes in. So that is when you don't go in for very high carb loads. Glycemic load should be kept lower. And that's the reason why when you see the increasing rates of diabetes across the world, and mostly it is in countries where rice is eaten as staple, which is India and China. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason once you cut your carbohydrates, so you can see the connection between carbs and diabetes. Mm-hmm. Because why? Because when you increase your carbs, especially simple carbohydrates, mm-hmm. or easily digestible starches, mm-hmm. your glucose spikes, mm-hmm. insulin levels spike, mm-hmm. and this leads to obesity and then insulin resistance. In the case of protein, when you don't eat enough protein, mm-hmm. then again, you're also not actually keeping your pancreas healthy to produce insulin. Again, insulin is a protein again. Mm-hmm. Okay. And also don't take the wrong fats. Mm-hmm. More the fats you take, especially all your saturated fats, these lead to insulin resistance as well, which in turn lead to diabetes. So coming to micronutrients, okay, this again is diabetes or insulin resistance and micronutrients are very, very well connected or correlated. I can start with chromium. Okay, mm-hmm. and again, chromium, it's not really given a thought to, because when you look at a nutrition information panel on any food item, is chromium on the label? No. Mm-hmm. In fact, many common man, they have no idea about chromium. But once chromium levels are lower, we have also seen most of the diabetic patients have very low chromium levels when you do your blood analysis. And also when you have pre-diabetes and all that, when we specifically give chromium supplements, their condition improves. In fact, HbA1c levels improve, insulin resistance comes down. So chromium has a very a direct link. Same thing with vitamin D, which Michelle mentioned as well. So vitamin D and insulin resistance are linked, as well as you can see even calcium. Uncontrolled diabetic patients have hypocalcemia. So that's why a lot of micronutrients are related to insulin resistance.
I see. I see. So, Dr. Kalpana, a quick question: do you recommend or do you use nutraceuticals as an adjunct tool in your strategy design for treating diabetes? You or your doctors?
Okay, for me, I am not a medical doctor.
Yeah,
but what I do is, as a part of nutraceutical, I strongly support nutraceuticals, especially when it's evidence-based.
Yes.
So before something comes to the market, when a proper clinical trial is it's being tested, and not just in animals, because many of the nutraceuticals which come out of the market is just animal studies being done or cell lines being done. Instead, when you do a human study, because anyway it is a food ingredient, it's a nutraceutical, so there should not be any challenge at doing a clinical trial. Okay, and then just to do a nutrition intervention to prove it works, and that's what I do. So we have seen a lot of proof in certain nutraceuticals trying to modulate all these effects, insulin resistance and so on. So I strongly believe in that.
I see. Wonderful. So, what we see here, attendees, is that Dr. Kalpana's deep engagement in strategic use of nutraceuticals in disease management. Yes, she's not a medical doctor, but she works very closely with both the nutraceuticals as well as the research institutions as well as medical professionals. Okay, and what I realized in her conversation is her strategic use of products with specific ingredients to actually manage a health condition. So very biochemistry driven approach. With this as an input, I think let's first cover the world and let's fly down to Japan. And we have Dr. Hidenori Arai from Japan. He's the president of National Center for Geriatrics and in Kyoto, Japan. Hello, Dr. Hidenori.
Hi, Amit. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, and thank you for your time today. I know this is an odd hour for you, but then really appreciate your time today. So, Dr. Hidenori, I have a question for you. What are the nutritional changes that lead to sarcopenia in geriatric population?
Okay, can I share my slides?
Yeah, yes, we can see your slide.
Can you see my slides? Okay, so as you know, I think most of the people are aware of sarcopenia, which is the age-related muscle loss. And sarcopenia is a huge burden of Asian countries like Japan and other Asian countries, and of course, US and Europe. And because sarcopenia is associated with adverse health outcomes such as falls, fractures, disability, and mortality. In terms of nutrient that affect the development of sarcopenia is first is protein as a macronutrient. This is a longitudinal study to show the effect of protein intake in older people on muscle mass decline. So they divide the cohort into 5 groups based on the baseline protein intake. What they found was a lower protein intake group showed highest muscle decline, indicating protein intake in older people is very important to keep their skeletal muscle. Vitamin D is another nutrient. This is the micronutrient which affect the development of sarcopenia. Vitamin D is already mentioned in previous speakers. Vitamin D is important for bone, immune system, and also muscle mass. And this is also a longitudinal study to see the effect of vitamin D on grip strength decline and muscle mass decline. Basically, both data shows vitamin D level. They measure active vitamin D in plasma. Low vitamin D is associated with sarcopenia development. And additionally, it's already mentioned, this is a population-based study showing the effect of vitamin D on COVID-19 incidence and mortality. As you can see here, lower vitamin D level is associated with higher incidence of COVID-19 and COVID-19 mortality. So vitamin D is very, very important nutrient and for the development for the muscle health. And in addition, this is our study, a longitudinal cohort study, where we found the meat and dairy product intake is associated with development of physical frailty, which is similar condition with sarcopenia. So in older people, we need to take a sufficient energy, sufficient protein, and sufficient fat. Those nutrients are very important, and energy intake are very important for physical frailty. In addition, specifically meat and dairy product intake is associated with, negatively associated with the development of sarcopenia.
I see.
Although this is a cross-sectional study, this is, I'm sorry, this is busy slide. Zinc, vitamin D, and N6 fatty acid are associated with the physical people. Although, once again, this is a cross-sectional study.
Dr. Haidner, just hold on. Dear attendees, can you please mute your computer? Sorry, Haidner, please. Go ahead.
So, although this is the cross-sectional study, our
maybe the admin can do that. Amit, Mr. Patel?
Mr. Patel?
Mr. Patel, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Haidner, please go ahead.
So as you can see here, magnesium, zinc, vitamin E, and N6 fatty acid are associated with the frailty or sarcopenia. Zinc is associated with taste, but looks like in older people, these micronutrients are important for frailty or sarcopenia. Thank you.
Okay, interesting. So, you have actually answered my second question, but, I'll still mention this question because then I would want you to derive specific points while answering this question. In elderly people, which nutritional supplements can play a role in reducing muscle loss and aging?
Yes, thank you for your question. We have several studies to show the effect of nutrient, especially protein or amino acid. BCAA, branch chain amino acid like leucine or isoleucine, are very important for the treatment or prevention of sarcopenia. Actually, this is the randomized controlled trial to see the effect of exercise and amino acid supplementation. They used BCAA, branch chain amino acid. What they found was a combination of exercise plus exercise per se had some effect, but combination is very important for keeping the muscle mass. And in this study, they didn't find any significant effect on only by amino supplement, although they found a marginal increase of walking speed by amino acid supplementation. And another one is HMB. You may know about HMB. This is a generic name, is beta hydroxybeta-methylbutyrate, which is a leucine metabolite. And this is also an important nutrient, although this is not a natural nutrient, I'm afraid. We need to buy this nutrient from the pharmaceutical store. And actually, this compound is very effective on sarcopenia. And this is the randomized controlled trial in our center. We found the supplementation or inclusion of HMB in our diet can significantly improve grip strength and fiber strength, which is one of the physical function parameters. And this is the effect of HMB on grip strength. So as I mentioned, in terms of micronutrient, leucine or other branch chain amino acid, and also HMB had a significant effect on sarcopenia. And also vitamin D has an effect on sarcopenia if a patient has low vitamin D level. So as you can see here, sarcopenia is, it is associated with any care plan like diabetes, COPD, CKD, movement disorder, or unhealthy aging and multimorbidity and something, and so forth. And probably this would be an answer to your future question about the health measures for healthy aging in older people. The Olympic year in Tokyo, so I just create like this. Nutrition is of course important. Sufficient energy, sufficient protein, vitamin D, and probably other nutrients like zinc or magnesium and fatty acid. But in addition to better nutrition, older people need to do aerobic exercise and resistance exercise, and also social participation is important. And we need to deal with polypharmacy, and also oral care is very, very important for healthy aging. So that's what we are doing for healthy aging of older people, in addition to disease management.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Rai. And so this brings us to covering the entire world strategy tool. Professionals expect better health outcome using nutraceuticals as a strategy. And there's a trend that regulators are slowly nudging industry towards that direction. Evidence-based nutrition. Now, evidence is, a lot of people have their own interpretation, but just to make it simple, it's a lot got to do on the bioavailability of a formulation, efficacy, effectiveness is the way forward. Nutraceuticals will evolve as adjunct more actively, as the key opinion leaders always have been asking for, and they will play the role of cascading, impacting the rest of the medical community to adopt it. With this, we bring to the end of session 1.